Good morning, everybody. It's Mike with smartoptiontraining.com. It's Sunday, the 24th of August. This is my week ahead video. I do this for my members every week. I'm putting out there for free today because I'm not doing charts. I don't do charts. You get to see this for free. So that's my deal with you guys. So markets hit a new all-time high in the SPY and the Dow on Friday after Powell's signal to a more dovish, maybe Fed with anticipated rate cuts. And we go into this week, and it's the last week before the holiday weekend, and really the last week of summer, as far as the world's concerned. Not as far as the actual end date of summer. That means it's typically a quiet week. It's a melt up type of week, a slow grind up type of week, and we do have some things out there, however, that can keep us kind of busy. We'll start off with Monday. It's pretty quiet. Tuesday, we have durable goods in the morning, and then consumer confidence coming in at 10 o'clock. That's a big one. Notice I'm putting some of the housing data in here becoming more important now. We'll see what starts happening with the anticipation of rates coming down. The rates should front run that. Thursday morning, we have GDP. We'll want to get a quick like that. And then Friday morning, the big one is PCE and then retail inventories. And then we have a little later on Chicago PMI and Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. So, we'll open up the room early on Thursday and Friday at 8:30 for that. It's also quite an interesting week when it comes to earnings this week. PDD reports on Monday morning. We'll see what that one wants to do. And then on Tuesday night, you have names like Okada and MongoDB. I don't really trade these guys, but in there, Pulte Holmes is in there as well. Wednesday is the big one. NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, Snow. NVIDIA, obviously the 3,000-pound gorilla in the room here. Do I think they beat? Yes. Do I think they guide up? Yes. Is it going to be enough here? That's going to be the question. And the markets could also want to hear about China and what's going on over there and how they're addressing that market or not. So that's going to be a market mover. Best Buy is interesting on Thursday morning and Thursday night. You have Dell, again, the good link to NVIDIA. We'll see how they're doing. Marvel, which everybody wants to see take off as an AI company, has kind of been struggling in a firm. Ulta's also in there. And then it's not showing up here for some reason, but Baba is supposed to report on Friday morning. So busy week ahead when it comes to stuff like that. From a market sentiment perspective, it's kind of interesting how we've been ping-ponging back and forth. Most importantly here, we didn't get any kind of overheated reading off of this. The oscillators on the NASDAQ, the plus 62. So all we did is went to the positive side of neutral. New York Stock Exchange plus 73, same thing, positive side of neutral. Advanced decline lines all jumped back up on Friday. Highs versus lows on the S&P 500, 154 versus negative, 0 here, 8, 0, 2, whatever, some very low number. On the NASDAQ, plus 374 versus negative 56. These are stellar numbers. Put the call neutral. We didn't get a big spike one way or the other. You would have thought we got a big bullish spike, but nope, we did not. And market breadth turned back up on the NASDAQ. It had been weak. And on the New York Stock Exchange, leading up new all-time highs. So, markets like this typically don't just fall apart without some type of news. Just get rid of that. All right. The ES. So, a couple things we were watching last week was this downtrend and this little wedge pattern that had developed, and we broke above it with authority. It's notable that while the SPY put a new all-time high, the ES did not quite get there. Just something to keep an eye on. We'll see if that rectifies itself come Monday. The NQ, a nice big candle off the 50-day, still remains weaker if they want to rotate back in. You see that. Crude, not doing much. Bonds, a nice big candle, right? Watch bonds here. Bonds wake up, rates come down, small caps, good for that. Gold, big candle, not quite sure why. Bitcoin, nice big candle back up, needs to get back above 120K, but nice kick save there. The VIX completely smashed down. Look at that candle there to a new range low. HYG, a huge candle. I think that might be pushing for an all-time high there. No, not an all-time high, a 52-week high though. Nice big move on that one there. That's good to see. Markets like strength in junk bonds. What else we have? The transports, nice big candle there to recent highs, and the dollar weakening on that. Okay, lower rates, weaker dollar. This is also good for the market, right? We'll see. So we go into Monday, and here's the S&P 500 hit a new all-time high, held the 21-day again. We've talked about how important holding this 21-day has been, and we've only closed below it once since back in April. So the question this week will be, do we grind higher? And if we do, you look for a move up to 350 and then maybe a little higher. If we come back down, watch where the 8-day sets up. That's a spot number one. If you also come down to here, watch this area right here, roughly this 642.80. This is an area we based at, and that would be their 642, 680 to 643. That would be an area to hold there. You get some real weakness the 21 day. But overall, new all-time highs, all of our pullback numbers gone. The NASDAQ also watch. Do they rotate in? Do they wait for NVIDIA? They might wait for NVIDIA. IWM, huge igniting candle here to 235. That's a beautiful candle here. And the 52-week high is up at 245 area. Can we get there? This is a very extended little candle. We'll see. If the market, if it wants to push, I would look for a move up towards the 240 area as your next resistance. Might get a day or two back and fill on that one. The Dow also putting in a new all-time high. Energy, you had a big candle as well, moving up with the markets. But crude not doing much, not much to see here. We'll see if this can break out. If it does, Chevron, one of the best names out there, pushing up here to a range high. And just keep in mind, if these names take off, this one has a big gap still sitting here up at 161.35. What I always do is I just go in and put a little alert in. Right? If you put that in there, gives you a better chance of seeing it. And then, when you're coming out, you're like, why is there an alert there? Oh, that's why. There's a big gap. Love to trade gaps. So we'll keep an eye on that one. ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil was stronger last week, also waking up, but not as compelling. The financials, XLF put a new all-time high in. It's been led by the regional banks, KRE this time with a big igniting candle. KALLY, that's always been a favorite of people pushing back up. Keep an eye on these. If these start to strengthen, right? Small caps going, small regional banks going could really help the market. The big banks, nothing wrong with them. JP Morgan, not far from an all-time high. Goldman back up near the all-time high. Bank of America leading to a 52-week plus high. Citigroup almost back into that many year high as well. You get the idea. The banks still look good. XBI, we had a nice little move here. The market, Trump keeps saying tariffs on pharmaceuticals and chips. And, every week goes by and we still don't get it. And, he's been promising within days and we don't get it. At some point, I'm sure that's going to be announced and we'll see how the market reacts. Could be that it's built in, or it could be the market's just finally had enough of waiting around for it and it'll just react when it actually comes out. Bottom line is a nice little move up here to 92 and 94 would be your next area there. Watch the individual names. Lilly here trying to wake up above 720 back in that gap. J&J's had the nicest move as a 52-week high. Merck up a little bit. Pfizer, right? All your big names here waking up. Gilead had been a strong chart, but not as strong here. We'll keep an eye on some of these. Speaking of this, let's go over to the semis. The semis here moved right back up off the 50-day. Your all-time high not far away now at 302 and change above all the moving averages. NVIDIA, nice candle here, back above, right to the 8-day. We'll see if this one can clear that, and then your all-time high at 140, 184.48. AMD woke back up nicely, now needs to clear that 170 area and see if it can get back above all the moving averages. Abgo, your other front runner, needs to get back above 300. So again, things to watch here. And if it doesn't, watch to see if the 50-day holds. Intel, U.S. government taking a stake. I don't see how this is good for it. I don't see how this really, in any way, shape, or form, I just don't think it matters. Intel is just a bad company at this point, and I wish it wasn't. It's an American company that just, it's weak. It can't. Trying to build a foundry business. The government's taking a stake, and nobody wants to use them. And the reason nobody wants to use Intel for their foundry business is they don't even make their own chips. They send their chips to Taiwan Semi. They just aren't that good at what they do at doing this. So I just don't know. But if it wants to wake up and run, we'll watch the 2755 area. So there's some interesting stuff going on here. The semis overall look good. Dell reports this week. I'm really interested with that one. SMCI, everybody keeps asking. I still think it comes down to the 200-day. This company just, it needs new management. That the husband-wife team just needs to go if this company really wants to excel. What else? Let's talk some crypto here. Ethereum raging to a new multi-year high on the ETF. I heard it's up again this weekend. Nice move there, and you've been seeing names like SBET run with it, although not all that much here. And BMNR, right? Speaking of which, MSTR, it's been pretty quiet lately, trying to get back above the 200-day. Just too many companies doing this now, and it's kind of diluted the value of all these companies. Coin trying to wake back up. A nice move up here back into the 320 area, and then it needs to clear the 21-day. And if it can get above that 21-day, we'll put that gap back on watch. So we'll keep an eye on this for a move back up above 337 area and into that gap. We'll put Hood in the same boat. Hood, nice big handles here, holding in very well. Again, above Friday's high. I like this one to go back up. It seems to have going to a digestion mode, and there's nothing wrong with that. After these big moves, these names tend to do that. Let's talk Palantir real quick. You had two of the owners come out and uh, sell a bunch of over $100 million worth of shares over on Friday that came out. Nice bounce there. Needs to reclaim the 8 and the 21 day. We'll see what it does. Oracle also out of play. We see some big names this week. What else, guys? Names like Cat, nice big candle, almost back to the all-time high. We'll see if we get a day two above that 440 area there. Boeing back up, not a lot of power, but we'll keep an eye on these. Overall names like GE still strong, right? We'll keep an eye on all these names to see where they want to come to. Looking else around, we got China names reporting. PDD and BABA this week will give us a good indication how they're doing. Should be noted, JD had a nice report and sold off. Coming back a little bit, Baidu also a nice report and sold off a bit, now back up. Another one, there's still some unhappiness about that. And let's roll into some big tech names here. We'll start off with Tesla this week. Very nice candle on Tesla, back up to this 340 area. So we'll look to see if it can break out. Does it have any kind of conviction to make this move up, take out the recent high here, and we're gonna make this easier to see and drill us in here. This candle right here will become our control candle. We want to get above this 349 and change to see if we can push. Keep an eye on Tesla. Microsoft, nice little candle here holding the 50-day, but still seems out of play. Maybe if it gets back above the 8 and the 21 day. Meta also back up on holding the 50-day, but needs to get above the 8-day to find some traction. Amazon, nice little candle there on Friday. It was a big recovery back up. Now can it kick out this 230 and then back up and finish that up to that gap area 234.10? Basically, it filled and see if we can get up to the recent highs. What else I got here? Google did hit an all-time high on Friday. Google had news with Apple, looking pretty good here. See if this can continuation and finally break out. The news with Apple, or the rumored news, is that Apple and Google are training a separate version of Gemini for Apple to put on and replace Siri on their phones. Remember, Apple has their event coming up in September for their new phone. Apple, not much reaction, but still holding in well and still on the 8-day and above. And as long as it stays above the 8-day now, we could look to see if it wants to run back up. So the best advice I can give you this week, guys, is nice and easy. See what's in play. Focus on what has momentum. Focus on what they're coming after. We use option flow for that. We use volume. We use news. Obviously, we have some big data, especially the second half of the week, and we have big earnings in NVIDIA, which will be a market mover. If you guys want to join me, I'll put a link in the description below. I'm hoping you're all having a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you guys live in the room on Monday morning.